I got my baby blue shirt on, looking righteous. But I'm so fascinated with the gift giving part of this. I don't really understand it. I may put this on YouTube. Haven't decided yet. I'm kind of debating on what I put on YouTube. Had a um, had a movie review type of live yesterday. A lot of my goals, honestly, is to go live every day at some point. Trying to find a little bit of time in my schedule to go live and do these things. Because I'm just curious. I'm curious on how TikTok works, especially with the amount of followers that I've, so graciously gained from a lot of you guys, and I do appreciate it. So I just want to see what this shakes out in the content creation. Since I got a little bit of time today, I'm going to try to go live maybe tomorrow morning, maybe in the afternoon, depending on how it shakes out with my day. I've been feeling kind of sick though. I'm like, I don't know if it's the weather. Like, I haven't really been sleeping that well. But who knows what it is. Let's see here. Randy was back in here, gave me 41 likes. Appreciate you. Yeah, whenever you guys come in here, let's pin that. Pin. Yeah, let's pin that. But like I said, I'm trying to go live every day, trying to get it in my schedule. TikTok has been rolling out a lot of, I guess you could say, goals or whatever you have it, and I'm going to try to do it. I'm going to go for it. I got some time today. The topic for this live is topics from the chat. So if you want to come in and put in the chat like what you got going on, we'll see what's going on. But I'm probably going to tell some stories, obviously. I did a live yesterday morning talking about movies of 2025 that I've watched in the last 2 months. Another question I guess I have is, what movie in 2025 have you watched that you were like, yes? It could be a movie from like 2011. It could be a movie from like 1995. It could be anything. But when you guys come in and out, there's nobody in there. I'm alone. I'm alone in this world. Oh, there's somebody. But hey, when you guys come in and out, hit the like. Gets the stream out to everybody. I went live a little early today. I usually go about 3 o'clock, but I thought I'd come in a little early today. It's raining, so I'm just like, whatever. But if you guys could hit that like button, yo, that's so funny. One thing I love about TikTok is is that you could just do the goofiest of things. I've seen people posting about their how to get into the algorithms, and I feel like it's a guessing game at this point. There's no one way you can get into the algos to get people on your page. I think one thing too is developing relationships with people, and I have a few people that who do come by and do interact in my chat. But like I said, this is like my 4th ever stream or 4th ever live, so it's not something I'm like super well known or like well thought out about. I've seen some people with like a lot of people, so I'm on here yapping. The topic for today is topics that you guys want to talk about, stories, Bigfoot, demon possessions. I haven't really talked a lot of demon possessions lately. I may have to, if someone gives me an idea, maybe in the chat, I'll have to do it. But let's see here. Wyatt says, "Where are you from, Brody?" I am from Oklahoma, from Oklahoma. Member of the Cherokee Nation, but also got a little bit of Kiowa in me, a little bit of Cheyenne Arapaho, and Muskogee Creek. But I haven't really, like I said, I was a YouTube guy. I have a podcast, Apple, Spotify. I have a couple thousand on there. On YouTube, I'm usually streaming on YouTube, but I just happened to go down a rabbit hole one day and said, let me go live on TikTok. Let me start telling stories. And so I started posting stories here on TikTok, and people love it. I never, and I also get a lot of pushback too, like people, I never heard that before. I never, I've been hunting for 35 years and I never heard that. So I don't know what to tell you. Something, I don't know, maybe got to touch grass or something. I don't know. Let's see here. Waya, where you from? Waya? I'm butchering the heck out of that. Eustie? Where you from? What part? Northeast, southeast, west? Where are you from? And like I said, let me know where you at, where you from. I might have a story. I had somebody in here from Detroit the other day. I had to tell him a story from a guy at Northeast Oklahoma. Were you what? Tahlequah? What? Veneta? Let's see here. Miami? What part? Let's see here. Claremore. Okay. Let me see if I got a Claremore story. I know Claremore Indian's haunted. That the Indian, that's my. I mean, that's where I go to hospital at. But I know that place is haunted. Stillwell. Dang, I can't say much about Stillwell now. I played them in basketball. We played them 6 times a year. I went to Fort Gibson High School. Originally from Tahlequah, though. Woodall Wildcat is my elementary days. Let's see here. But, man, Stillwell's got a lot of stuff out there, too. My grandma used to live about 10 minutes from town. She out there 10 killer in between 10 killer schools and Stillwell. That's where she lived. It's creepy out there. I know she used to tell us when we'd be playing around kind of dusk. She'd always be like, all right, don't be going around this side of the house. Because so the way the house sat, there was a road in front that went up to the neighbor, but then she had like a little pull-in drive, and it's just a straight drop-off. Middle of nowhere, just literally woods. And she'd always say, yeah, don't be going out over there, right over here. She'd point to like a certain entry into the woods. She said, I don't go that way. We say, why? And she'd never tell us. But then she had a lot of stories, though, a lot of medicine. She'd always be... She kept it and she passed away in 2011. And so all I got is good memories of her. She had a lot of stuff going on, but she sure loved the Strawberry Festival. And I ain't gonna lie to y'all, out in Stillwell, I know y'all be taking those horseshoes serious. And marbles, I know y'all be going hard at the marbles. The Cherokee marbles. You be getting cheated. Y'all be cheating. No. I'm just playing. Know anything about Seminary Hall at NSU? I do. I got a story or two. Actually, 3 maybe. Oh, yep, softball too. Yep, softball is big out there in Stillwell. One time, I know Cherokee Nation holidays this weekend. I'm not going. I got too much stuff going on in the back end, but I hope everybody has safe travels out that way. I know they got. I came out of retirement. Came out of retirement last year for basketball, and it was rough, y'all. I was out there looking like Husky Harris. I was looking like one of them unks. Them unks that think they still got it. That was me. Out there hooping crazy. But NSU Seminary, the Seminary Hall, which as you get on Downing, you take that little curb, and there's a big old statue of Sequoia out front. Yeah, I need to stretch. I tried my best, but my skills was gone. I was like, man, I had played some pickup before, like the leading up, and just wasn't the same. Just wasn't the same. But so Seminary Hall. So there was a story told to me when I was in college. I went to college at NSU, graduated there in 2017, and there was somebody, and I can't remember if it was I think it was out of those FAR dorms, but they were getting out of the seminary for night school, and so they're making their way back kind of through the front, and you had to, when you come out the front in front of the, at the time, to your right as you look, it's the science hall where all the biology majors and everybody. And then to your left, you go back up and you had the Indian dorms, which they had like all Native American dorms. And then you had kind of the, the enrollment place or whatever. So she was coming out, and when she looked off into, like, when you're facing the main street of Tahlequah and you see that statue, she thought she saw somebody peeking around the corner. And she kept looking, and she's like, that's weird. Well, then she started walking up towards the native dorms. And she kept looking, and this person was, like, moving from tree to tree. Like, kind of creepy-like. And so she's like, well, at the time they used to have, I don't know if they still do, but they used to have an app where you could pull the app up and you hit the emergency button, and the campus police will come, pin you down wherever you're at and come to you. So she hit that button, and she turned around, like literally got into a well-lit area and turned around. There was nobody there. So whatever that was following her, nothing there. Police got there, whatever. And I think I want to say that the police officer ended up telling that story. But I know it's about a girl that I, not that I knew, but she was a little bit older. They say in the seminary dorms, they say there's a lady in a white dress in there. Yep. So my English teacher, my first English 2, I think, English 1 and 2, man, this dude was like old school. I think he was in Vietnam. He rode a bike to school. He was in horrific health. But he lived out by the river. And so I'd always, I had stories, and so we'd talk after class about stories. And I said, well, I saw, because at the time, NSU Cherokee Nation put out a video about the seminary and about a lady in white. And they interviewed a bunch of professors who I had who were older at this time. But basically, they said lady in, I asked myself about this lady that's Halls. He said, yeah. He said, I'll be in here kind of packing up, getting ready to go, and you see somebody walk by the door, kind of just real quick like. And she would talk, he'd talk about, there was one professor who in that video, Cherokee Nation, you can go find that on YouTube. But he was, one of the guys was in the computer lab, one of the professors, and he was wrapping up, and he could hear somebody up there walking. And I know for a fact there had been a few janitors who had quit. Like they had just up and left. Like they just quit. They quit working there. They stopped working there because of it's so creepy in there. If you guys could hit the like as I'm telling these stories. I'm trying to get up to 20K today, y'all. 20K is what I'm trying to get to my likes. My husband said that he heard a lot of things when he was there in the early 2000s. Yeah. There had been all types of stuff going on. I want to say, I could be wrong. A lot of the stuff I haven't heard in a long time. But my English teacher, yeah, he said there was you'd hear footsteps walking it sounded like on the top floor on the roof. You just hear all types of stuff. We only have people in there in the daytime. Yeah, I think that's why. When the people were quitting the janitors was like in the 90s. When all classes would wrap up, they'd come in and sweep up and stuff. Metal Donna, do you work there now? Are you over at the seminary? That'd be cool to have you tell me some stories. I'm sure that there's a lot. Like I said, my knowledge. I haven't been on campus in almost 10 years, so a lot has changed. I know they got a bar down there now. Everybody be wilding out, I heard. I know Dwayne's is still rocking. Yeah, I work in the business technology building. Yeah. Oh, so that's across the way. Is it still the big kind of white building? I don't know if they've painted it or not. It's a computer lab, I believe, wasn't it? Back in the 2010s? That's where the main computer lab was. But dang, I spent many nights in there trying to work on my thesis for the reason why we need more physical education in the classrooms for these young kids. Yeah, Cobb dorms. Yep. Yeah, I haven't. Man, like I said, I haven't been over there in a while. I know that, like I said, my memory is not the best when it comes to NSU. Like I said, I ain't been there in forever. But yeah, I mean, NSU is pretty creepy at night. There have been times where I've had people say that they've been followed back from their cars going to their dorms. I haven't heard much in the dorms. I only heard that sometimes the water would turn on by itself. And man, I ain't heard Cobb dorms in forever. And that's over Cobb dorms. Are those the ones over there next to the Fit? Metal Donna? I love your name, by the way, too. Who's your favorite band? That's what I want to know. I'm asking you. I want to know who's your favorite band, but yeah, no, there's, like I said, Sequoia High School's crazy haunted. Trivium. I've never been a big listener to them, but that's cool. What's going on? Rebecca? Thank you for liking the stream. Appreciate it. Seminary, not seminary dorms. Sequoia dorms are way haunted. I guess if we can get this up. Yeah, if we can get this up to 20K likes today, get some arthritis on you. I'll tell the Sequoia dorm story that I got. It's an old one, like 70s, back in the 70s. Not much just got off work. I feel you. Dang, at least you got off 2:30. Get out of there. People be saying, hey, let's work overtime. Like, no. My 40's in. My 8 for the day is in. It's clocked in. Let's see here. What else? We got Cherokee Holiday this weekend, Labor Day weekend. I know a lot of people going on the lake. If you're going to the lake, be careful out that way. I know it's been raining. So if it's raining, I wouldn't go. That water gets dicey if you go into the Illinois River this weekend in Tahlequah. Just be careful. It gets dicey out that way. That tie snake will come get you. No, I don't know if it will, but it might. If you ain't acting right on the river, they may get you. But yeah. Any type of stories y'all want to hear, let me know. Let me know in the comments, whatever topic. Bigfoot, LP, if you got a certain location. We just talked about Seminary Hall very poorly. Very poorly about Seminary Hall. Like I said, what the problem is for me is that I'll get new stories from people, and those are what I focus on, my memory to. And then I start to forget old ones. And then I have to go back and look at my notes or go back and listen to my own podcast to remember exactly what stories I have. Because where'd you go to school? Depending on, I went to high school or college. I went to college at NSU in Tahlequah. I went to Bacone for a short time, played a little basketball. Bacone's got some weird stuff going on too. One time, I'll tell you a weird one, is this is Bacone. I was leaving practice, and I was one of the last ones because I like to shoot around a little bit. And I was with another guy, and so we're leaving, and basically we were leaving out of the gym into the hallway. And if you go straight down, you get to that museum, where it has all these artifacts from all these different tribes all over the country. Hey, what's going on with you, Rod? Lodge Tales Podcast is in here. Go follow him. Man, Rod, I'm going to try. Hey, I'm debating on when I want to do the 100th episode. I will be having him on. It's only right. It's only fitting. He's got some more stories to tell. And we still left a lot of meat on the bones. A lot of meat on the bones. Not just bone. There's multiple bones we could eat from. With me and him talking. But so we exit out the gym. And I look to my right. And it's a museum. And then there's a cafeteria kind of in between the gym and the museum. And then you go upstairs. And I think there were some advisors up there. And so we started leaving, and I felt like somebody was walking down the hall. And I looked, and there was nobody there. And I opened the door, and I swear to you, it felt like somebody was coming up behind us. And so we didn't have a key to the door. So once we left, it was like the door closed. And then it always felt like somebody was walking behind you. So that you'd be walking to your car after the end of games, and it literally felt like somebody was on your back, like following you to your car. And I'd look, and there'd be nothing there. Joe Sandoval says, "You got anything from here?" I graduated from Fort Gibson. I got a lot of stuff about Fort Gibson. I did a lot of my ghost hunting in Fort Gibson, but maybe I'll ponder something. But yeah, Bacone is creepy. I know, dang, not to throw any shade to Navajo people, but there was a Navajo girl that I think she had something following her around. There was a girl that I knew in one of the dorms, and they always said that anytime that she got mad or something would come and visit somebody. I guess she's getting done wrong. 2012? Joan, 2012? But yeah, so I guess she had some football guys screaming in their dreams or something. That's what I heard. I don't know. I didn't know the girl, but they said that a Navajo girl was causing crazy stuff in that football dorm. I didn't see none of it, but a lot of those football guys, man, just something else. Those are some guys. Those are some dudes. I'll tell you what, they be wilding out. I got some crazy Bacone stories, just dudes just wilding out. When I was a freshman there, they had a guy in those motel. He was cooking meth in the bathtub. You could smell it, and I was like, dang, what's that smell? He ended up getting busted. There's people slapping. There's a guy who slapped a couple girls in the cafeteria, like literally just like wound up, slapped them. He was on the run for like 2 weeks, and he was still hooping, too. He was still hooping. Yeah, the Bacone story. The bacon story. No, yeah, Bacone, like I said, Bacone, they be wilding out. Dang, we'd be walking into one of the rooms, because the rooms are real nasty, man. They were just like bare bones. They had one bed, and like people cooking meth, and it's just you had some people in those dorms. But let's talk about Fort Gibson since somebody asked about it. So a lot of my ghost hunting days was in that area and then Tahlequah. And so when we would, after Friday night football games, home games or even away games, we would go down to the bottoms. And if you know Fort Gibson, you know the bottoms. We go down there, and they had some baby. We always were told they're baby graves, and they were out across from the casino, like you're headed out of Fort Gibson, and then like you're headed into the bottoms. And one night we go out there, and my buddy had a Jeep, dang 4-wheel drive Jeep, barely could drive it. He could barely drive that bad boy. So we go down there, and we're all crammed up in this dang Jeep, and we get out, and it's real creepy out there. There's no lights, and we shining lights, and people thinking they're seeing shadows. And there was a story of a couple people who were a little bit older than us. Their car wouldn't start. Just crazy stories, but about cars not starting down there. So my buddy, we get out, and we're like, nah, man, let's get out of here. Let's go further down. And so as we're getting out, somebody says they see like a shadow or something of a small thing. Like, I don't know if it was a kid or what. So everybody piles in the drink. I didn't see nothing, so I'm like, oh, get in, and we get out of there. But I took a picture of this, and I wish to this day I still had it. It might be still on my YouTube. I can't remember. But I got a picture of it, what looked like a baby hand on the outside, because his outside of his Jeep was real dirty and was real dusty. So if you pressed your hand on there hard enough, you could see a little handprint, and there was a baby handprint or little kid handprint on the outside of his Jeep. And to this day, I remember he was like, "No, it's a raccoon." I said, "What would a raccoon be doing 6 feet off the ground, hanging onto your Jeep?" And then we always go down to the bottoms. We had herds crashing around in the trees, and we get out of there. We honestly thought there might still be. I have no idea. I haven't been out there in over 10 years. But we went out there one night, and we saw somebody burning something. So we thought that was real kind of like interesting. So we jet out there fast as we can go. We got there, and there was nothing there, But then what really kind of creeped me out about that place is we found dead dog bones all over the place. Like, as soon as you pull in, you can go straight to where you go deeper down by the river. Or if you go right, there's a little cove, and it's got a little beach. And people used to put couches out there, like, nasty. I don't know why people be hanging out on them, but we went out there during the day because we heard something crashing around out there. And we go out there, and there's all these dead, like, dog bones. Like, all of these dog bones. Like, I have a YouTube. If you guys go on my YouTube, subscribe to me on YouTube. It's like my first ever video, but it's on there. And I show pictures of all these dog bones. Thousands. Ooh, 1,000 of them. Just a bunch of them. But Fort Gibson's creepy. The fort, I had friends of mine who would drive by and they'd hear people screaming out there, like fighting. You know, like when guys are about to hit each other in a battle. It sounded like that out there. What's crazy, too, when I was in high school, that there's an overlook as you're leaving Fort Gibson and you're about to hit the dam on the, like, basically when you come off the dam, like you're headed into Fort Gibson, you go up a hill and then you kind of turn this way and then you go into Fort Gibson. And then you go down a bunch of hills and stuff. But there's an overlook that used to be over there. It's closed down now. And one night I was out there, I can't remember if I was out there with my high school girlfriend or what. I can't remember who I was out there with. And we stopped, and I said, let's look over the overland, because it was getting kind of dark. And when we pulled up, we had our flashlight. This is back when the iPhone 3 was then. So the camera was cheeks. You couldn't see anything out there. And so we'd have the little flashlight, and we're trying to look. And we see a bunch of blood, like, going off towards the cliff. A little, stoop or whatever you want to call it. And I think it's, like I said, I think it was my high school girlfriend. I can't remember exactly, but we look at each other, we're like, oh, I think we probably should get out here. And we kept going, as we're thinking, like, as we're saying this, and we keep looking, and it's like more and more blood. Well, then come to find out, there had been like a cougar attack on something. There was a cougar out there, or a mountain lion, or whatever. I was like, dang, we could have got took. And I want to say it happened, because it was fresh. It had to happen that night, like when we got out there. But yeah, there's all types of stories. I know they talk, out in Fort Gibson Lake, they talk about catfish the size of Cadillacs out there. People getting their feet took. But look, hit the likes, y'all. Hit the likes. I'm trying to get to 20K today. That's kind of my goal today. I'm gonna try to go live every day this week as a goal because TikTok is telling me to. So I'm gonna say, hey, I'm gonna try it. Let's see what happens. I'm gonna find a little bit of time, tell some stories. I had a question here. Bigfoot sightings. A few. Yeah, my dad told me about a big catfish. Yeah, there's catfish. They talk about them being like huge. I don't know. Some people say they're octopus. I know people talk about octopuses in Tin Killer and Eufaula and Thunderbird. But you just never know what's in that dirty water. Let's see here. What does that say? Be still to know. Okay. I've heard that too, yeah. Trying to think of what else. Bigfoot. I'm trying to think. I've told the Bigfoot story out of Porter, my my pawpaw, his story when he was hunting. I've told that, so you can watch that one. I'm trying to think of one I haven't told. I thought I had to see someone call a small octopus out of 10 killer. I believe so. Man, I'm really trying to think of a Bigfoot story here. I got a bunch of them. Oh, I'll tell you one out of Tahlequah. So, this happened years ago, probably 30 years ago. So, one day my dad, when I was a little kid, was like, yeah, you're, was his friend. He was my friend. Got to say his name. I don't want to say his name, but he's like, yeah, my friend saw something at the back of his car, real hairy, when he was driving by. So if you guys are going into Tahlequah, on the right-hand side, there's a casino there now, but it used to be just straight pasture. And then on the other side was I think it was a golf course or some type of recreational thing where, I think it was a golf course. I don't really recall. But it basically went up into a hill. And then you kept going, there's houses. So one night he's driving away from his house, headed into main Tahlequah on that back road, where on the backside where the casino is now. And he sees something up on his driver's side, like it's coming from the pasture up into the hills, a little hill area. And he looks, he's like, what is that? So he's just kind of gingerly going by because he's thinking that it might be... I know, Miss Page, I know. Hey, is Sienna sleeping? That's my daughter's name. Is she sleeping? She better be asleep. That's all I gotta say. Anyways, my daughter better be asleep. Better be taking that nap. She don't be taking naps here at home. Oh, okay. Anyways. He sees something on his passenger or on his driver's side, and he's looking and he's like, "Man, what is that? It's real tall. He can't really tell what it is. It's dark out. It was dark out there back in those days when there were a lot of lights." So as he's passing by, he's looking, and he still can't see nothing. But then he stops right as he passes because he's thinking it might be someone needing help. A lot of times in those days, in the 90s and early 80s of Tahlequah, people hitchhiked all the time. Like that's what they did. They just hitchhiked. And so he's driving by and he looks, and as he's hitting his brakes, this thing crosses behind him. And it's hairy. And he said he could see he was in a little black car, I think is what he had at the time. I think he still drove it up until we were like kids. But he said basically walked by and he could see the hand. He said in his brake lights, all he could see was the hand. He said the hand was up, like you could like the windshield's here, and it's like hanging down. So this thing was tall. But he said that, but yeah, so he hit his brakes and caught it right as it was passing by, and he saw it. And I always tell people when they run into Bigfoot, a lot of times there's one out there, and I don't know I know Muskogee Creeks have a name for it, and I was always told this name. And it's escaping me, and but it's the one that makes you forget is how it kind of translates. It makes you forget the Bigfoot that makes you forget. And I asked my dad about that story here in the last couple years, and he's like, "Man, I don't remember that story." And so he brings it up to his friend, and his friend's like, "Man, I really don't remember that." And one night I guess he texted my dad and he said, "Man," he's like, "I remember that now." He had to sit and think about it, but he's like, "Yeah," he's like, "Man, I don't know what that was," but that goes along with people. Some people may have seen Bigfoot and not realized it, But yeah, he did remember for a lot of years, and he said he just kind of bebopped along after that. Didn't really know, or didn't really realize he saw it, but. Yeah, that one's called The One That Makes You Forget, I think is how it translates. That's It says it's got red eyes. If you have seen Bigfoot out there, if you hear this after the fact or during this, and you've seen Bigfoot and you've seen one with red eyes, that's the one that makes you forget. He makes you forget. I had heard a few stories of people getting taken by that one, and this is old, like 60s, and they come back and are never quite the same. They're never quite right. I just want to go on a Bigfoot hunt and another ghost hunt. Yeah, not me. I'm good. I'm never going on another ghost hunt. I know I've had Spooky Okie ask me to go on one, and I'm just like, don't know. I don't know if I'm going to. If you are looking for paranormal stuff, there are a few paranormal pages out there here on TikTok who are actively going ghost hunting all the time. And it's one out of Oklahoma, Spooky Okie. There's one out of Canada, Res Paranormal Group. They do a lot of stuff. Afterwalker Paranormal is based out of Chakota, Oklahoma. I know there's one. I'm trying to think of who else. There's a lot of them out there. That do those things. I quit doing them, and I've told this story. If you missed live streams from me on TikTok, they're all on YouTube. So go like and subscribe on YouTube. I tell the story of why I don't go ghost hunting anymore. Yeah, there's no way. I'm not Bigfoot hunting or ghost hunting anymore. I'm cooked. I'm retired. Where would you go for a ghost hunt here in Fort Gibson or Muskogee? I would walk the grounds of the fort. Don't go inside it. Don't trespass. Don't do any of those things. But just walk the grounds. It's Warcry Podcast. It's my YouTube. I am on YouTube, Warcry Podcast, on YouTube, Spotify, Apple. I'm everywhere, I guess. The fort, obviously. Now, one place that I don't think a lot of people go to, and this is where we used to go, is we called it the bottoms on the other side that connect across the river. It is, it's like you're headed to OK, Oklahoma, on that back road from Fort Gibson, and you'll see at the T, there's like a little T when you get to, there's a house that used to be on the corner. It's a cornfield now. But you turn left, you go all, and it's a bad road. It's terrible. It's so terrible. But you go all the way down, and you can loop around, and you get to the river. Dang, one time, it's crazy. We was out there real late one night, 3 in, and dang, somebody was out in the cornfields, just like hanging out. But dang, we were rolling by, and they jumped out and grabbed the dang, what is that called? The window, the side-facing windows. Reached out and hung onto it for a minute, and then just fell off and rolled off into the ditch. And we immediately, because you can't turn around. It's a straight one in, and then you have to go all the way to the end and turn around. So we go all the way down there and come back and turn around, and there's nobody there. Like, not even nothing. Yeah, somebody in the cornfield running back. I mean, that dude literally, he hung. I don't know what it was, but somebody grabbed that thing and was hanging on for dear life, and then fell off and went into. I don't know if we run him over. I'll tell you a crazy story. And it's not really crazy, but I think it's crazy. So I used to do a podcast. Shoot, this is when podcasting this is during when Joe Rogan first started. I had a little small podcast with me and my buddies. We talked about conspiracies. And I can't even remember the name of it now. It was something goofy. But one night we were talking about the Malaysian flight when it first happened. And all of a sudden my power went out. Like power went of the entire house. Like I'm in the middle of telling about this because I had watched a bunch of documentaries and I'm talking about it. And literally just power went all the way out. And I'm like, what the hell? And so the next day when the power came back on, the power came on, and then I was like, well, let's call it. I couldn't get everybody back on. And so the next day I go out there and there's literally a pizza-sized perfect burn, like a perfect circle. I'm telling you, this thing was like It was bigger than a pizza for sure, but it was like a big circle, and it was right next. It was right next to the window, burned perfectly in a circle. And I went and told my dad, so what is that? And he's like, man, I don't know what that is. Because we thought maybe a light fell off and then like burned the thing perfectly. But then the light was still there. So I don't know what that was. That's one place out in the other bottoms is what we used to call it. Another one in Muskogee. I have heard from After Walker Paranormal that the Music Hall of Fame is haunted. They had somebody or had some type of entity brushing on their shoulders, grabbing on them, like as they're walking through. The Hall of Fame. I'm trying to think of what else in Muskogee. I feel like my brain is not working at capacity today. I'll think of some others in Muskogee because there's a few in Muskogee that haunted places that I can't think of right now. Do you think the Earth is... Dang, you're going to hit me with this one, huh? Do you think the Earth is flat or round? I think the Earth is bigger than we think it is. Like, I think that I don't know if it's flat because... I don't know. There's different things about the flight patterns that make me kind of question flat Earth a little bit. They're really round Earth. But do I think it's flat? No. Do I think we're in a terrarium? Probably. Everything is too curated. Everything is too perfect for us to be living here. It's just weird to me. I don't know. That's just kind of something I think about. What was the other Oklahoma ghost? After Walker Paranormal, they're out of Chakotah. There's Spooky Okie, which is out of North Oklahoma. So like Osage Nation around there. Kind of north. I can't think. There's some out of Canada, Res Paranormal. But yeah, Flat Earth that's a doozy. If you guys are just joining, we're trying to get to 20K today. We're going to try to get it up there. 20K likes, so if you could, get arthritis for your boy. If you got to do your toes, do your toes. Now, I don't want to know if you're touching the screen with anything else. I ain't trying to know that. Because it seems like the last few TikTok lives I've done, people have been getting their comments struck because they was being nasty boogers. Just nasty boogers. The nastiest of boogers. One of those boogers that you just like, ugh, you a booger. Anyways. But yeah, Bigfoot. I'm trying to think. They're like, I've heard Bigfoot stories like third hand from people, like their uncle was telling them something. I had a guy out of Canada tell me that his uncle used to feed Bigfoot, and then when he passed, those Bigfoots started really acting up. I haven't. You know what's crazy? I don't hear nothing much about out of Salisal besides. I know I had him tell me a story about a time when they were. This is back forever ago when they were paving one of those roads out there. They saw a big old snake out there. Out that way. They said that basically they had to stop in the middle of the road because a snake was moving to another body of water. One of those tie snakes. I know I haven't really heard much out of Spyro, or Mounds. Or I haven't heard much out of Kiefer. I'm hitting South Tulsa. Sapulpa, not really much. What's your favorite conspiracy theory? My favorite one, I think. I got a lot of them, and there's some of them. There's so many that like connect. But one of my favorite, it's one of my favorite to look into, and one of my favorite to read about is so America almost went into a full coup back during, I think it was World War One. I have to look this up, but this is forever ago. I mentioned it on a podcast episode. But basically, Prescott Bush, which is George W. Bush's grandfather, was banking the Nazis. And if it wasn't for one Marine, and I cannot remember that guy's name, if you guys could help me in the chat, if we hadn't have found out that he basically told Theodore Roosevelt, not Theodore, FDR, Franklin. If he hadn't told FDR, then yeah, we'd probably be a different country, because they had a full-on plan and they were going to do it because he had the backing of all the banks. So yeah, that's a crazy conspiracy that I love hearing. Two that I love is the Bob Ross serial killer conspiracy theory. So that one was kind of weird. I had somebody really upset at me when I posted that. They were like, "How dare you ruin?" I mean, Bob Ross seems like a good guy, but there's been always theories out there like every time that he was in Europe and like someone went missing in that same time, in that same area, and like found a certain way, and people have like he had painted such beautiful paintings, but essentially he had painted different crime scenes before they were committed. Like he had painted like one of the trees in England, I think. Somewhere in England, he was out there for something, and he had painted one of these trees. Well, somebody was found by one of the tree that he painted. So it's just weird coincidences that I enjoyed about the Bob Ross being a serial killer. But dang, I had somebody mad at me about that, and I felt kind of bad. I was like, man, I might take it down, but it's still there. That's like a 20-minute episode. I go into a lot of details about him, and he has a sad story, but like if he was a serial killer, that'd be kind of crazy. Let's see here. Any other topics? Yeah, I think one thing too about conspiracies that I have a hard so there are certain conspiracies that I'll never believe, like the QAnon stuff. I never believe that. There are people that I have followed on multiple platforms. There are people that I have followed on multiple platforms. Like they will swear by it. They say that QAnon was real and like things like that. And I just never believed in it. Another one I have a hard time believing in the conspiracy is the reptilians. I have a hard time with that one. I know David Icke has been on that train for forever, and he's got good work, and he's been talking about them forever. This is going to be crazy to some of y'all who are listening, and I'm kind of interested to know your opinion in the chat. But I don't believe aliens are real. I just don't believe in aliens. I have a hard time believing in aliens. I think that we have conditioned ourselves to believe in these things. And the reason why I say that there's no aliens, and like I'm talking like extraterrestrial, because I don't honestly, and here's another conspiracy that you guys will be like, what? I don't believe we went to the moon. Low key. I don't. And so those are connected for me. I don't believe we went to the moon, and I don't believe there's space. You're going to have to show me, like you're going to have to take me up there. You're going to have to train me for months and take me up there to believe that there's space. That's a crazy one, I know. I just never, I don't really believe a lot of things about what they tell us about NASA. I know that there's a conspiracy right now that in 2027 an asteroid's going to come and blow us up. It is literally like the size of 3 football fields. And that's why a lot of these elitist people and rich people are building bunkers in a lot of these low-laying places. I have a hard time with space. A lot of the stuff NASA puts out CGI, you can tell. I just have a hard time with that one. And then I have a hard time with aliens because who's to say that if space isn't real, is time travel? Are those connected? That's a question that I'm curious about. Is if space isn't real, can time travel be real? That's a question that I think about a lot. Because if time travel is real, what are we moving through? Are we moving through? I mean, they always say moving through space and time. Let's see. Little baby, thank you for the heart. Appreciate the gift. But yeah, I just have a hard time with space and aliens. And then I have a little bit trouble with time travel. Now, aliens, I think, are not aliens. I think, and that's where time travel comes in. I think the aliens are us from the future. Because I think, or us from the past, who are highly have a lot of technology, and they've been hiding. I believe in inner Earth, and I believe that there's land beyond the ice wall in Antarctica. So, I don't know. Rod, I missed your comment earlier, but I'll answer it now. What is one conspiracy that you can get into, or that you can kind of ease your way into, for someone who does not follow conspiracies? The first thing that I would look at in terms of conspiracies, and this comes from my academic mind, because I'm not saying I'm academically trained. I am to a certain extent. I've wrote thesis. I've done peer review. I've done these things in my time in college. They're not at the highest level. I'm not saying I'm smart. I'm just saying you are trained to do these things. I would start beginning with history. I would always start with like World War I, World War II conspiracies. So like I mentioned before, the coup that almost turned America into Nazi Germany, 2.0. Another one I would start with would be, this one's kind of out there, but the Nazis getting alien, quote unquote, alien technology, and also Robert Byrd. That's one I would start with. If you're not into history and you're into more of like the metaphysical, I would start with things like, you can research these today, climate controls, DARPA. And you can also start with aliens. What is it? Duggar Air Force, Area 51. Whatever you feel like, whatever, Rod, whatever like you're into. So if you like aliens and you want to research, because here's one thing about aliens that it has never, the Utes out in Utah, and I believe Navajo, they've been beefing for, they beefed all the way up until here recent times. They've always had a battle with each other. But they were seeing UFO crafts back then. So that's like, goes into, history. But that's what I would start with, whatever you're interested in. Like the alien abduction thing is interesting to me because what if it's just us from the future? Like what we're doing right now, we're tearing this planet up, and Mother Nature is gonna come for us eventually. Like she is undefeated. And what if it's those people getting taken by future us to try to populate future Earth? So you'd basically be your own grandfather. I don't know. Imagine being your own grandfather. Be talking in those old ways. I know, Jessica and Aaron, I know that's crazy. I think that's crazy. I mean, the reason why I don't believe in space is because we have the quote-unquote technology right now to go past the firmament. And this is what Joan is saying. Because if you notice in all of those videos, and they've taken down a lot of them, when they first were going up to space, especially Elon's, he hit hard enough to where it looked like he doinked off something. also in the bottom of the ocean, this guy went so deep, and I cannot remember what trench. It wasn't the Mariana, but there was a trench that he went down into, and he tried to penetrate the water, and he bounced off. The water was moving so fast in a way that our minds cannot comprehend. This was on the Discovery Channel. There was a documentary back in the early 2000s. That dude, when he posted that and they put that out to the public, he was dead within a month. Somebody got him out of here. So there's something to that. There's something to the space or to the sky, and there's something down below. Does it make us into a sphere? I don't know. But that's one I look into as a firmament, because like I've watched those videos of those rockets hitting off something and coming back down. And they say, oh, well, it ran out of jet fuel. And like, it's so funny when I saw Katy Perry kissing the ground. That was kind of crazy too. But yeah, there's something to the firmament, and that's why I don't know if space is real, or if space is real. I mean, I guess how do we know? Oh, whatever. Oh yeah, I saw that too. Yeah, I just said that. Katy Perry. Yeah. My aunts think it's our ancestors, not aliens. It might be. It really, honestly might be. Because it doesn't make sense if they're coming from outer space. Like, that comes to a point to where, like when they're talking about reincarnation, what if it's just us being recycled? And, like, when we see aliens, we're seeing people that passed before us looking down on us from whatever simulation thing. And that's another thing, too. Simulation is interesting to me, too, because people have seen the lines in the Matrix in these beams, these very frequency beams. If you guys are just joining, we are talking conspiracies right now, but it's any topic you want to talk about, want me to talk about, and if you want to talk about it, put it in the chat. Eventually, I'll start doing invites and guests, but right now I'm just going to keep it to myself. Also, too, if you could, hit the like button. The goal is 20,000. We got up to 15 the other day, I believe. The next goal is 20,000. And every time we're going to just keep going up until we can get to whatever number we get to. Rod from Lost Tale says, one of my elders talked about the people from the stars. He was born in the 1920s. I mean, it could be. It definitely could be something out there. I don't know. The alien thing, because like now they're saying they're coming from the ocean. They don't come from the sky. They come from the ocean, and that goes into me thinking that it might be either a future us or a past us or somebody that is us, because there have been some whistleblowers saying that these aliens look like us and they're similar to us. So it could be anything. I hate when TikTok does this. It makes me verify. I've been online rolling through chat this entire time, and they're saying, oh, you're inactive. Makes no sense. I remember seeing that episode on TV, yeah, where the guy literally was in one of those like high-tech submarines and was trying to ground penetrate the bottom of that trench, and he couldn't. The water just kept propelling him back. And that goes into the firmament. That I know the Bible talks about the firmament. I know people use that as a justification for there being no space, but I don't look at it from a religious angle. I'm trying to get to here. Science tends to make you doubt spirituality. Aliens might be so advanced in science that they are. Yeah, science. Yeah, that's one thing about science that drives me crazy too. Is like there's a lot of things that you cannot prove. You just cannot prove with scientific method. And that's one thing I see like Neil deGrasse Tyson, and I see all these like really smart people, and I'm just like, they're so entrenched in their like what study that they're in, that like they don't venture out to hear from people who have seen things. And that's always kind of been annoying to me when it comes to science. But yeah, aliens, like I said, aliens just may be like, I don't know. The people talk about the Greys, and I've done an episode over the Greys, and a guy named Philip Cooper I believe that's like episode 20 of the podcast. And he was a guy who was found, unalived. He unalived himself. But he had like all these crazy wounds and whatnot. But yeah, he talked about the Marines going down into this pit and they fighting these aliens. Jessica asked, do you believe in mermaids? Yes and no. I think it's a lot of like myth, but it doesn't, to me, what doesn't make sense to me about mermaids is the human hybrid part of that. It doesn't make sense to my brain. But I believe they could be out there, no doubt. They're finding werewolves. People talking about werewolves now. Bigfoot, and I also think too, we talked about a little bit in the last stream about like Montauk Project, where like they're messing with genes. Like they're editing genes and they're splicing things together that just are not natural. Spiritually empty and want to understand our way. That's true too. That could be it too, especially those aliens trying to figure out like, why are these humans, why are these lesser beings, understanding the way of the universe. That's another thing too. Let's see here. There are rivers under the ocean that are basically concentration of dense salt. Yeah, and that's what I'm wondering too. If like I go back to like him not being able to penetrate that current or that water, is like, I have a hard time not believe, like people that are atheists, it doesn't make sense to me, because there's so much things that are so intricate that like that's by design. Now there are people out there that believe aliens and in the, what they call it, the ancient aliens, the Anunnaki, they were dealing with the, like Prometheus, where they had a creator species that was messing with our genes and then, turned us into what we are, and that's why we're so intricate. But I don't know, I don't believe in that. I believe that there's a creator that just, there's such infinite details. But once he created us, I think he went away. I think he's like, I'm going to watch, but I'm not going to interfere in what happens. And also, too, that goes into the little seasons, too. The conspiracy of the little season. If you haven't heard that, you need to go look that up. That's a whole rabbit hole. That basically, when Jesus said in the Bible, you will see me and I will return, and it will be, the greatest time on earth, that's already passed. And right now we're in the little season. And they say that's why a lot of things are happening in this world, is that the powers that be understand. They know the true history. They understand the true history of this earth. It's been passed down to them. They are the purveyors of knowledge, and that they know that their time is coming up. And that gets into some religious ideologies, and I don't really subscribe to, but it's interesting. I'm open to everything. I try to be fair to every belief. That's kind of, I don't think any one belief is more powerful. I believe if you believe it, it's more powerful. Marine life will pass away and they get stuck in it. Yeah. It's that whole river under the ocean thing is interesting, because where are we getting this salt at? Like, where's this salt water come from? But yeah, it's definitely something that I think about quite a bit when it comes to that firmament. If people ever ask me about space, that's kind of what I'd go to them. Like, the firmament just doesn't make sense. Like, it makes sense to me that we can't, because the moon thing doesn't make sense to me. Like, we can't get there now. It doesn't matter. We can't get there. And like, how do we get there in the 60s when they basically duct tape stuff together? Like, we're looking at today where we're duct taping planes together. We're putting Gorilla Tape down on wings of planes. So yeah. Do I know anything about the Book of Enoch? Not really. See, that gets into the human hybrid Nephilim thing, and I have seen a lot of people get lost in that direction in terms of conspiracies. Um, I just don't really know much about Nephilim. I've listened to people talk about it. I haven't really looked into it. People say Bigfoot's Nephilim. People say Dogman or werewolves are Nephilim. Um, I don't know. I don't really know much about it. The Nephilim in the Book of Enoch, but like I said, there's a lot of people out there that believe in that, and they're like they hold on to that Nephilim, especially the cryptic community. That's a reason why I kind of stay away from that because I just don't. I don't subscribe to a lot of mixing of Christianity with different things, like to make it make sense, to make everything make sense. They always add Christianity into it, which is weird. I don't think Christianity is solely the reason why on some of that stuff. Rod says, "Wait, so if you believe in the firmament, does that mean you think the Earth?" No, I think the firmament is basically like a big ball, like it's holding things up and it's holding things down. So I think it's like a big, like I think the Earth is probably round. I just think that there's a firmament around it because if the Earth was flat, we would see an end to something. But unless the Earth is so big and it's flat, that it's so big that we can never fall off of it or we can never find the end of it. And also, too, geometrically, that in my head, that flat Earth just doesn't make sense. Like in my head, looking at it. But I think that we live. I don't know if we live on a rock floating around perfectly in the gravitational pull. I don't know if I believe in that either. Big Bang Theory, I definitely don't believe in that. That doesn't make any sense to me unless it's thousands of years or millions of years old, which some people say it is. Like I said, I'm open to anything. Like I may mismatch theories just to make it make sense to me, but I'm really just I'm open to anything. I just try to when people like I've had people message me and give me their opinion on this or that, and I just try to take it in as best as I can, really, because I guess I'm not a snob when it comes to trying to learn things. I just try to learn the best I can. Jones says flat Earth makes the most logical sense. See, it in parts it does. Like the airplanes having to reroute to me doesn't make sense for the Earth being round. Because why wouldn't you just go in a round circle? But instead you're going from, let's say you're going to like London from Florida. You're like going north, and then you're going south, then you're going east, and then you're back. Like it's just weird. Like there have been pilots that have talked about this online. They're just like, yeah, it doesn't make sense sometimes. Like maybe fueling stations, maybe, but the way that we fly doesn't make sense. Like I don't know if it's the air currents. Like if our planes aren't strong enough for air currents. I don't know. Someone more smart than me can probably talk about that better. But that's the only thing that flat Earth makes sense to me. The rest of it, I just don't know. It just doesn't make sense. So, like, if the Earth is flat, what is around it? Like, is it space? Is it, what is it? Are we in a tier system like Dante's Inferno where there's like 7 stages of hell or, whatever? I don't know. I mean, that's one thing I always try to understand about flat Earth. Like, what's around it? Is it a metaphysical that we're in? Like, we're here physically, but our plane of existence is metaphysical. I don't know. Have you heard about giant skeletons found in Oklahoma? I have not. And if I had, I would be on that like Donkey Kong. I would be in the throes of that. I know they have found giant skeletons all over the country, and the Smithsonian has tossed them into the sea. Because it changes the way we think of history. Because I don't know if... I just don't know. Yeah, if you could send that article to me, I'd like to read it. Yeah, I'd love to read it. Because the giant thing, to me, that goes all the way back to... I know the Kiowa have seen red-headed giants. They have that in their lore. I'm trying to think of who else. I mean, you can go to the Paiute, have seen them. They put them in caves. I believe the Paiute put them in caves. I don't want to speak for them, but I've heard the Southwest tribes talk about them. Plains tribes have talked about them. I know southeast, like Louisiana, they talk about giants in the swamp. That's a few things, but giants to me is a very interesting topic because that goes into the Khazarian and not Khazarian, Tartaria. That's an interesting thing too. That's a whole rabbit hole too. I wouldn't doubt Oklahoma's low key on the map. What do you mean low key on the map? I'm sorry, I'm moving. I'm moving fast here on topics. Let's see. We're at what 5K. Let's get guys. Let's get to 20K. Hit those likes. I want y'all to have arthritis. I want y'all to just have arthritis. I want y'all to have arthritis in all 10 fingers, or what? 8 fingers and a thumb. Let's see. Our stories talk about stars, headdress, constellation, and then see that's another thing too about natives too. Like they have mapped the stars. What are the stars? That's another question I got. Like, what are the stars? Like, I just want to know basic understanding of things. That's a lot of where I come from and a lot of why I question things. Like, what are we, like, if we see the stars, what are the stars? Because I have a hard time with the terrarium thing. I know there's part of my thoughts that, like, maybe we might be in a terrarium. But, like, putting fake stars out there, I don't know. It's a whole, like, at the end of the day, I just want to know, like, when I pass away and I see the creator and I say, hey, what is this? And the creator can tell me, and then I wanted to wipe my memory. Because, like, I just feel like as someone who will just continue picking at a scab, especially a scab that size, and I'm not saying I pick scabs, that's kind of gross, but I'm just saying, like, keep scratching at it. Like, I want to know. I want to know. Movie Goon, what's going on with you, man? Hope you're doing all right. He's been wanting me to tell. He's been wanting me to tell about the medicine man out of Eufaula. Ain't no way. I ain't talking about that guy. All the fundamental building blocks inside stars are the same material that we consist of. But how do we know that? Maybe I need to read more. Maybe I need to read more constellation articles. I'm reading too much I'm reading too much fiction right now. I have been reading. I just got done with Pines, which is based on, or it's the Wayward Pine show. That's the book it's based on. I was reading Jonathan Mayberry, the All Roads. I think is the last one I read. Stephen Graham Jones. I've been wanting to read Mongrels by him. I just have been putting it off. Right now, I'm in the middle of Zoo by James Patterson. But yeah, I need to read more nonfiction, like more or articles. I just haven't been doing it. But yeah, I want to know, like, how do we know that how stars are made up? Like, is that something the government's telling us? Like, who is telling us this? College astronomy helps, but chemistry would better explain it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess you're right. I don't know. Like I said, I'm an idiot. I'm just a guy who talks. I read things and I talk. Math, yeah. See, Rod, we're getting too far into math right now. 1 + 1 = 9, right? Because I am horrific at math. No, it's 2, guys. I'm just kidding. It's 2. But no, like, I'm not good at math. See, when it came to the sciences, I opt out, and I went into the metaphysical. I skipped all the basic steps, and I just started saying, yes, this is what it is. Any other topics, man? I appreciate y'all liking the stream. Y'all killing it with the like button. We got a little bit of time. You know, we're gonna hang out today. I started a little early today. I wanted to make sure that I feel like every time I got to go pick my kids up, I always have to end the stream when it starts getting good. And then I can't remember what we talked about. Rod says computer science major back in the day. Math fascinates me. Hey, I'm glad you did it. You do it. Hey, go ahead and get that knowledge for me and then tell me about it. Because that's one thing that, like, for me, I've always been a people person. Like, I can like a salesman type person. I've always been able to just be able to talk to people about things. And here in the last probably like usually like when I graduated college is when I started really actually reading like different physical things. Like I wrote my thesis in college about physical education in elementary and middle school settings. So like here in Oklahoma, kids don't like they basically are done with PE after elementary, and it shows that like classroom behavior is better. Like there's different like physical things, but also mental and emotional things that happen to kids when they're able to run, basically play or not have to worry about school. So like that was a lot of where came from, like physical fitness. Like I'm not. I hardly ever work out now. I basically have to lift 2 toddlers every day, so I guess that's my workout. But like that was a lot of my thing is working out. I used to have a little muscle on me. I was a little ball of. Dang, this will sound crazy, but I was like a little ball of girth. I have country strength, is what I was always told. Now I'm just a big ball of husky. I'm Husky Harris Jr. But that's all right. Don't hate me because you're not husky. Anyways. Oh, Aaron's like, "No, Cap, come on, buddy. I'm country strong. Don't even play." So Aaron and I used to work together at a barbecue restaurant, and this is the God's honest truth. He always had trouble picking up the grease. He always had trouble. Like he was just like not the strongest guy. So then I said, "All right, come on, scoot over." And I lift that thing up and just and take care of it. And he would always have trouble. Felt bad for the guy. Felt like he couldn't even lift nothing. No, Aaron's pretty strong too, though. No, he is pretty strong. He gets that. He's got. And you know what's crazy about him? Dude could probably run like a 4.3, like maybe in his prime, early 20s. Yeah, he probably ran probably 4.3. Me, probably run a 7.5. That's why I play quarterback. Yeah, he was girth. He was girthy, but he could run. Girth Brooks. Yeah, any topics, y'all? I know we hit a lot of stuff. We hit conspiracies. I'm just trying to think. I know, like I said, I'm still trying to think on some Bigfoot stuff. I have been diving deep into the nursing home and like the haunted towers. I know eventually I want to talk about, when I get my thoughts together, I do want to talk about the tunnels in Tulsa. I want to get into that story eventually. I try to save stuff because I think a lot of it for me is a lot of people like to have their input said. They like to guide the conversation, because when you guys guide the conversation, for me, it helps my brain, because there's sometimes like I forget things. Like I literally forget stories until someone brings up something like, "Oh yeah, my grandmother this," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I got something like that." And like Bigfoot right now, I can't remember anything. Here's a topic too. I think you guys might want to hear my opinion on. You might want to. You can tell me I'm wrong. But I have I have a little bit of a thing about people thinking that there's multiple types. Like, I don't know if there's multiple types. It's like, I guess people like will say, "Oh, the skunk ape," or Pacific Northwest has the quote unquote traditional Bigfoot. I don't believe in any of that. I think it's all the same thing. I also think too, there's going to be wiry people. Like, and another thing too is I don't think it's like 1,000. I think there's way more. I think they're a lot more prevalent. There's so many places here especially just here in America. But you look at Canada, you look at South America, like they're everywhere. I know they're everywhere. And the people say, well, we haven't seen them. I think also too there is a spiritual, metaphysical part of them that they, like I always talk about medicine, and it's like the same. It's like the same thing about, like, I don't know medicine. Like I'm a native dude, been native my whole life. I've never once practiced medicine. I think it's similar with them that they have certain people or certain clans that practice those things. Freakmore. Hey, I like your name, Freakmore. Are you saying like Freakmore? Like, is that a name of a place? Or is it just like a made up name? But Freakmore Paranormal. Which tunnels? I live here, the ones connecting the buildings or the real ones under the city? I'm not talking about the ones that they publicize. That's what I'm talking about. There's tunnels in the city of Tulsa. Freakmore Paranormal, you need to get a hold of me. I'd like to hear from you. I'm based out of Tulsa area, Broken Arrow. I've lived in East Tulsa, lived in North Tulsa, lived in South Tulsa. I lived everywhere, all over this city, and now I live in Broken Arrow. But yeah, the tunnels I'm talking about, they don't talk about these. The tunnel that specifically story I have is kind of out there in East Tulsa-ish. So it's like in between, I want to say it's around Sheridan from like 41st up. And there used to be an old hospital out there. So that tells you anything. And there's like sigils and stuff in there. But I had a guy, so the full story is on my YouTube. It is under Tulsa Skinwalker. Or it's Tulsa Shapeshifter. I can't remember what I called it. This is the episode. But I basically, from the time I worked with this guy, we would just talk. And he would tell me things about certain things about Tulsa. And he was into basically, what do they call it? I would say new medicine, new magic. That kind of witch stuff that you get books from. And he was trained, which you're not supposed to do this, but he was trained by some Cherokee people out in northeast Oklahoma. Taught him how to do some things. And that's not really how that's supposed to go, but that he learned it. And so then he just kept building on his knowledge of the metaphysical and stuff like that. And he saw some things done in one of those tunnels out there by Sheridan that went next to an old hospital. And one of those days I'll tell that story, but it's available now on YouTube and Spotify. Let's see here. The one my dad saw was 10 foot tall and black hair. See, that's one thing too. It's like, man, like, I guess you could break them down, like the categories in terms of like, everyone, like not everyone, like I'm native, this person's white, this person's black. Like I guess you could do that. But in terms of like breaking them down into like physical characteristics, I never agreed with that. I was always kind of like, I think it's all the same. I just think, genetics be crazy. Genetics be wilding out. If y'all could, hit the like button. I said we're at what, 6,000? We're close, y'all. We got 14 more 14 more thousand likes. We'll try to get up to 20K on likes. I went live today. I'm trying to go live every day. TikTok was like, hey, if you go live every day, you might win something. So we'll see. We'll see. And hopefully it's something nice. But I also do have a challenge. If you want to, gift me something, you have the ability to do that too. But I appreciate any support. If you guys sit here and listen to me talk, that's cool to me. Because, like, just liking it, and it's free, you just like it as much as you can, helps me get in the algorithms. I know I have a lot of people, on my timeline, and I've seen people kind of comment things like, how do I get into the algorithm? Well, you got to have people like things, and you got to have people view things. So that's kind of the, what I try to do. It's free, and hey, this economy is cheeks and a half, y'all. It's only going to get worse. That's only going to get worse. I know we got here in Broken Arrow, we got a representative who said that slavery was better than death, which is an insane line. The state of Oklahoma is using PragerU, and if I'm not saying that these people are bad, but they do that. PragerU is Israeli, so there's a lot of going on with PragerU and their ties and who they're affiliated with. And here in Oklahoma, we're just like, yes, please sacrifice the red heifer, bring forth the apocalypse. And half of y'all ain't even ready for it. I ain't ready for it. I'm just gonna let it rock. If it's my time, my grandpa always used to say, if it's my time, it's my time. So we'll see how it shakes out. But what topics you guys want to talk about? What topics? Because we got some time today. We can slow play it. We can hang out. Whatever you guys want to do. But I guess we can. Let's talk about. I got one topic that I guess maybe might get some people thinking. So I just posted a video about my dad's ghost story, about a time when he, his job, what he did, he basically had to go to people's houses and collect information and do things. And I'm not going to give out what he did, but so he went to this person's house and he went to the wrong house. So there was two houses on the property, one that was closer to the road and then one that went on back behind. This is out in Muskogee area, I believe. I can't remember exactly in Muskogee, but he just told me it was in that area. And so he went down to the house that was further away from the road, and when he knocked on the door, there was an old lady that answered. And she's like, oh yeah, just come on in. And so he started feeling real kind of uneasy, like something wasn't right. And it's a safety hazard too to go into anyone's house. So like if you work delivery driver, any type of stuff where you're delivering to people's homes, do not go in their house. You could get took that way. If y'all have never seen an episode of Dexter, please don't. Or please do, and then don't go into people's houses. But he's like, no, I don't want to. I just want to, I need you to come out here and I got to, verify some stuff. And so the lady just wouldn't. And so he was like, well, he kind of heard behind him somebody was coming up the road fast. He looked and it was a guy, younger guy. He hops off and he's like, what are you doing here? Getting all mad. Like, why are you on my property? And my dad's like, oh, well, I'm just trying to, he's like, but I knocked on the door and there was an old lady in there asking me or telling me to come in. And that guy got real wide-eyed. He jumped on the porch real quick, went in the house, and my dad could hear him going through the house. And he come back out and he said, oh man, he's like, my mom lived here and she passed away. So I wanted to see how close, I wanted to see her one last time. So he was looking for her. And I was like, dang, when he told me that. My dad is spooky. I've mentioned this before. My dad's spooky in that way. He had a lot of stuff happen to him when he was younger. So he just is like, it is what it is. How dangerous one I-40 is, all murdered. Yeah. When I've worked in different things in my life, but one thing they always talked about is how dangerous 244 in Tulsa is, and then also too how dangerous I-40 is. Because I-40 runs basically from east to west, and I-40 runs all the way, or no, it's not I-40. I-40 going from like Oklahoma City goes through Tulsa, but it also goes all the way down. I'm thinking of I-44. Rod, I appreciate the Galaxy. It's fitting, the Galaxy. Just the takeover of the universe. Is it real though? No, just kidding. It might be. I don't know. But yeah, I-40 is super dangerous. It's crazy because like you hit I-40, like you're headed towards Chakotah, you follow, like there's nothing out there. There's absolutely nothing out there. And that's one thing that with the missing, like the missing and murdered indigenous women, one thing I just don't understand, especially with the governor being Indian, just not allowing, thinking that us, thinking that trying to put everybody on a level playing field when natives and other people have been balling at a deficit forever. Like, that was one thing growing up. My dad, my mom always tried to push on me and my brothers, like, no, like, we're going to keep going. Like, if that means getting a bigger job, getting this, getting that, then we're going to do it. Like, we're going to succeed in this environment. And, like, for me, I always had a hard time because, like, if anyone that has known, like, people who have known me, I'm not, like, if I feel like you're disrespecting me or talking down to me, like, I've worked in government where they've done that, I don't take that very lightly. I just was raised that way. But like having non-natives look at natives like, oh, it's just an Indian guy, like dismissive. That is my government rage. And like, I don't really speak on politics, but I've worked in government where politics are involved, and it's frustrating. When I was working for an entity that's very, very large here in Tulsa area, a municipal who has commissioners, I put forth an idea in a template to do a native festival here in what was it, the month of November. My boss, my direct boss, was like, "Yeah, it's a good idea. Let's push it up." And it gets to the big boss. He says, "Nah, it's excluding too many people." And I'm looking at him like, "You realize you're in Oklahoma? You're in Indian territory. This is still designated where you're at. You're still in Indian territory. Like, there's history here before y'all came here. There's history here before we came here, before the 5 quote-unquote civilized tribes, the non-savage tribes, which is insane. They're adapting, but it's like like what happened to us at the first contact. At first contact was some of the most brutal stuff, and it just drives me crazy when like it's just dismissed. But everybody else can have a holiday. Everybody else can have a celebration. Everyone else can have their month, and like, oh, we need to go back to Christopher Columbus. And then we got Oklahoma having a cartoon for little kids saying that slavery is better than death, and that although some natives are smart, they're still merciless. That's crazy to me. And like I'm not by any means a political guy. And you're not going to hear political speak from me. But that's what gets me fired up and gets me riled up. You want to see savage? All right. We'll be savage, but we'll be savage in a smart way. That's how I operate. But yeah, I get irritated at that. And then we got somebody, a representative here in Broken Arrow, that's saying, "Oh, well, I agree with that because that's factual history." And buddy, like, I got something to say about this guy. I'm going off, y'all. Y'all better go ahead and tune out so if y'all want to hear nothing. This fool literally has a pact, or he had put out multiple, and he had ran. He's a freshman state representative. Had ran on Save the Children, Save My Family, and he put out his whole people, all his family put out a documentary calling Rescue Clayton or Save Clayton, and here he is agreeing that slavery's better than death when his kid or his family member was in DHS custody, not able to see his family. And here he is agreeing with that. Indoctrinating our children when we're 50th in the country. We're 50th in the country in education. Because we got to have Bibles in class. That's crazy to me. I'm not by any means an atheist or any of that stuff, but that riles me up because there's all these different religions out here that people practice in Oklahoma. Like, Oklahoma is just not just a Christian. Like, there's people here like natives here that still go to ceremonial grounds. There's Muslims in Tulsa. There's Koreans. There's Lao people. There's all these people in Tulsa, and they're trying to put one religion. Like, that's called indoctrination. They're doing exactly what they said the leftists were doing last year. It's crazy. All right, y'all. I'm done. Next topic. That's stuff that just drives me crazy. What topic y'all got? And I appreciate y'all joining me. I'm tempted to homeschool my little dude. Man, shoot. I get ads every day for homeschooling on this app. And I'm thinking about it too, man, because, like, I got lucky. I had two parents who were very well read, who understood the importance of reading and also understood the importance of allowing your child to experience things and learn other people's cultures. Like, my parents are amazing. I had great parents, and I know that's not the case for everybody. My wife, she, her indoctrination was with the evangelicals, the Methodist Church. And, it's crazy that these things go on, but they go on. And now they're trying to put it in schools where it's like, brother, our kids can't even read. Like, most of adults, people don't even talk about this in Oklahoma. 34% of our people, our adults, are reading at or below reading level. So those people you get into fights with in the comments, they can't read. They don't know what you're saying. You have to say it to them for them to understand you. Another thing, too, is that those same adults, 12% of them can't even read at all. They're illiterate. And that's just in Oklahoma. Our kids, literally, like, almost 50% are at or below reading level. That's crazy. But yet we want to build brand new football stadiums. We want to put turf on our football fields. We want to build brand new arenas. We want to do all this extracurricular, and we ain't worried about the curricular in the curriculum. It's crazy. I'm about to run for school board when my girls get of age, being there talking crazy to people. What's that guy? He was a city councilman. He just died. It was like Eric Mays. That's gonna be me. If I if I ever do something, I'll be talking crazy. I'll be like, "What'd you say? Huh? What you talking about?" I'll just be going off on people. I'll just be just saying things, just trolling. But yeah, man, it's weird. There's a lot of people worried about all the stuff going on, and I'm gonna take your mind off it. Let's tell some stories. Well, give me a topic. Give me a topic. Somebody throw one in the chat. I'll sit here and wait. I'll look at you like this. Nah, just kidding. That's weird. How many? What do the kids say now? How many aura points did I lose? How many aura points did I lose with that? I probably lost 10. All right. I'm going to tell an LP story, but I need y'all to have arthritis. Not arthritis, arthritis. Hit that screen for me, and I'm going to tell y'all an LP story. So, this one is a very old story. And this was told to me during Cherokee camp when I was a little kid. But this story, this is early 2000s when I was told this story, but this story is old. And back before medicine, medicine today is different than medicine back then. And the teacher that was telling me this story at Cherokee camp was a little boy when he saw this. Back before roads and all this stuff, and he would walk around, his parents always told him that old man over here, elder, he knew things. And that's kind of how I describe it, because he knew medicine, he operated. And Rod from Lodge Tales has told stories similar to this, more recent day. But so he went over there one time, and he was talking to this elder, and he kind of sees something moving in his pocket, in his shirt pocket, and kind of moving around. And he looked, and he thought he saw something. He's like, "What is that?" And he's, "Well, it's maybe nothing." And the old man's just talking to him. They're just talking. Just kind of hanging out. And he goes, away, and they kind of end the conversation. He goes, and he comes back when the old man's not there. And he kind of looks in, and the old man didn't have no locks. It's old days. They didn't lock nothing. So he went in there, and he's looking around, and he saw a couple LP in jars. And I guess what he had been told later on is that man was using the LP to get his medicine. And that's why he had them. He used each certain one in different ways. But when he was gone, he would put them in these jars or whatever. That story is old. He said that might have been like 1950. That's old. And I may be missing some details too, but I just remember that as a kid. And I remember asking, and I think my grandpa knew somebody like that. And so he would kind of, he'd say, that kind of happens sometimes. And I say jars, but it may not be jars, but he kind of kept them in a way where they could kind of rest or something. I don't know. But I always think of jars when he was telling me that he kept them in place. But LP, they sometimes would help medicine men find different things they're looking for, and they'd kind of look for things. But yeah, one thing about like medicine is always, this medicine back then was stronger. Like I have an ancestor, his name was Jackson Lewis, and my grandpa, I really looked up to this ancestor of ours, and he would tell me about Jackson Lewis. If Moon Goon is here, he may know something about Jackson Lewis, but because he's a shared ancestor with me and him. But during the trail, he was a little guy, and he was riding on his horse crossing one of the rivers or one of the streams, and a lot of people would say that he had LP helping him guide him to where they're supposed to go. LP knew things before it was supposed to happen. And so LP would helped him kind of navigate. He was a little guy on these horses, but the water would be up real high, and you just see a little LP sitting on the top of the horse's head, kind of just pointing, saying, "We need to go over here," in Muskogee Creek. And they always, he always talked about that. Choctaw was having. I'm not trying to hate on the Choctaw, but they had kind of some issues with some medicine people. I think they might have lost them in battle, or I don't know, but I don't really know what their circumstance was. But Jackson Lewis, when he got older, they'd call him. They did. A story that was told to me was that he was I think they was out there playing games or something, and or out there kind of messing around, and all of a sudden he see somebody riding up on horseback. And he'd look, and it'd be Choctaw guy. He'd be like, "Come on, we need you. We need your help." And so he'd go with him. He'd be gone 2 or 3 weeks. Jackson Lewis is my grandpa's grandpa. Yep. LPs live in a tree West Eufaula. That's true. But yeah, they'd call on Jackson Lewis. They said, "Come on, we need you." Choctaw would be like, "We need you. We need you to come on." So he'd go with him, and he'd be gone. They said sometimes 2 months, couple days. It just varied on what they needed, but he was legendary. Let's see here. I've heard whispers in the woods while fishing out at Greenleaf. That wouldn't surprise me. There's forest spirits out there. A lot of people discount the forest, and it having spirits, but they're there. Thank you for the gift, Uncle Mark. Appreciate it. Unc coming through for that one. Thank you so much. But Jackson Lewis, man, was legendary in that area, and he always, was a medicine person, and I want to say he was Confederate side. He was fought for the Confederacy. Now, when I say Confederacy, I'm not sure if it was the actual Confederate Army, and Moon Goon may be better at telling this than me, or if it was the Creek Confederacy, because the Creeks in that time had their own tribal towns and their own places, and they would come together for the Creek Confederacy, and they fought against Andrew Jackson, and so they would do that. Ashley says, do they stay outside or can they enter your home like ghosts? So that's a great question. I have heard that they just can, if they, so my grandma, how I got my first introduction with their trails, they have trails and they have ways of doing things. And they built a house. My grandmother built this. They built this house. Her relatives built this house on their trail, and so they can move and go on their trail. But they are. I've been told that they're interdimensional, like they can basically fold time and space, and they can travel through, and then they can open it back up, and that's why people go missing. That's why I think that they're part of Missing 411, because they talk about that. They talk about that from time to time about how, this person was over here, then all of a sudden they're over here. Like how did a toddler move 10 miles north in like 6 hours, which is impossible. A toddler could not do that. So I think that that's a lot of it. You're welcome. I'm going to hang and listen to the story. Yeah, appreciate you. Hit that like button too while you're listening. Thank you. Appreciate you. But yeah, getting back to Jackson Lewis. But yeah, I have a picture. I think my dad has a picture of him. And boy, he looked mean. I ain't gonna lie. Like the way that they got him, he was like he looked mean. But hey, they said he helped a lot of people and he taught a lot of people medicine. I know that his son, or it might have been his son or grandson, Moon Goon might be better at telling this than me. But I guess it kind of taught a lot of his son some stuff because you can't just pick somebody. It has to, you got to be careful about it. Rod says a lot of them are in our ceremonies. They're very powerful. Yeah, they are. If you guys, I'll tell you all, if you want to hear some good LP stories, it's my episode with Rod he's right here in the chat. Go follow and subscribe to him. He's got a Patreon too. All his information, you just type him up on YouTube or on his TikTok page and go follow him because he's got a lot of stuff, man. He got a lot of good stuff. I learn stuff from him all the time. He knows a lot of stuff about different things, and even though he is kind of Western tribe, Blackfeet, but he does. It's all connected. I think we're all connected in that way, and I think we have adopted a way that I think colonizer people that came here back in the day changed us a little bit, and that's I always try to reconnect. Try to just keep it 100%. Yeah, Buddy Lewis, that's who it is. Yeah, my grandpa and my dad did a lot of genealogy with that, and we learned a lot of stories. And Grandpa knew a lot of stories, I believe, from your grandpa, I want to say, Frank Lewis. Yeah, it's but Jackson Lewis, and then you got and I guess I'll say his name. They called him Rabbit, Moon Goon. Is that what they called? Is that what you heard that they called him? Rabbit or Bullet? They called him the scariest medicine man in that area. They called him the boogeyman. People to this day still whisper his name, and I'm not. I probably shouldn't be saying it, so scrap it from the record. But yeah, he's a creepy guy, and I know we was talking about that. And my grandpa is literally buried like 20 feet away from him. Yeah, Bullet. Yep. Whoo, yeah. Yeah, they say he was scary. And crazy thing about him, they say he was like 300 years old. I don't know if that's true. They said that he was about 300 years old, which is crazy. That's like I said, man. Muskogee Creek people, man. We're something different. And I say we because I am. My full name is Yehola, and that's a creek name. And so, tigers are everywhere, and so I'm real proud of both my Cherokee and my Muskogee Creek sides. I learned a lot of Muskogee Creek from my grandpa, and then my Cherokee side, I learned it from from Cherokee Nation. So my grandma passed away when I was a junior, and so didn't really get a lot of that. My mom they went more, kind of more Western, I guess you could say, church, and they were ranchers and cattle people for a long time, but they lived rough. But they're still kicking. And I have a weird background too, because my mom was raised on a farm, just rough living, rough living. And then, I was raised in a dang trailer park. I was trailer park trash. Represent. If y'all want to know where I lived when I was a kid, so y'all know where Del Rancho is in Tahlequah. I lived in those trailers behind it. It was pretty rough. I ain't gonna hold you. Got a lot of stuff going on. If y'all know where that's at. But yeah, I'm just a regular dude. If you're coming in here, hit that like button. I think we're at 7.6. Woo! We're close, y'all. We got about 8,000 more to go. No, I think we got 13,000 more to go. My math is not mathing, but yeah. Speaking of the Choctaw, I used to. I did a live event at Purim Powwow, and Choctaw. She was a vendor. She's Choctaw, and she was telling us a crazy story. And this is one that gave me instant goosebumps. And so, if you hit that like button, I'll tell this story if we can get to 10K. If we can get to 10K, I'll tell you a crazy Choctaw story about aliens. It's crazy. And I mean it's crazy. It's crazy. Let's get up there to 10K and I'll tell it. I'm trying to get y'all. What do they call that? Pavlov's dog? Where they try to get people to, or they try to get the dog to get a treat or reward. I ain't trying to do y'all like that, but yeah, we get this up to 10K, and I'll tell y'all this I almost said Osage, but I got a crazy Osage story too. Maybe I have to tell if we get to 20K. But we're close, y'all. We're close. 9.1. Oh, y'all, hey, y'all want to hear this story, huh? I'm telling y'all this story is crazy. Y'all are gonna be like, what? I may even have to put my storyteller voice on for y'all. But it's an alien type situation with Osage or with the Choctaw medicine man. It's crazy. It's crazy. Oh, dang, y'all really gonna do it too? Y'all really gonna do it? Y'all gonna make me tell this story to y'all? Oh, 10K. There we go. All right. And we're still going. Dang, we're still going. Dang, y'all trying to get to 20K to hear that Osage story, huh? All right. Before I start the story, I'm going to read this comment. Made many trips to Tahlequah with my grandparents. I've got an ashtray from a bank from 1973. Hey, that's an antique, man. You need to sell that. No, you don't have to. That's good memories right there. All right, y'all. So we were at a Purim powwow, and we're just talking to people, and we just asking around. Any of y'all got some stories? And they were like, yeah. She's like, this one lady's like, yeah, I got some stories. And I said, well, give us your craziest one. She's like, okay, I got a pretty crazy one. I don't know if y'all are gonna believe it, but I got a crazy one. I said, all right. So we record this. I can't remember if Russell still has this. Russell Sun Eagle might still have the recording for it. But she's like, well, so this happened. So her grandmother, or it might have been her. No, it was her mother. I'm sorry, it was her mother. One day, they had seen a bright light come down, crash into the ground in these woods, and I don't know where it was on Osage Res. Or Osage Res, but it was somewhere. And all of a sudden, all these people started seeing it. And it was like a craft. It was a legitimate alien craft. And everybody was seeing it. And so they said, well, let's send our medicine person to it and see what's going on with it. And she's like, I honestly didn't believe it. But she's like, my mother told me this. But basically, they sent that medicine man over there, and he touched it, and he disappeared. That's crazy. That's crazy. Let me know. Is that crazy? They said basically he went over to touch it and he just disappeared. They said they don't know where he went. They could never find him after that. He's probably somewhere on some crazy planet somewhere. Let me know what y'all think of that. And we kind of both looked at each other like, whoa, this is crazy. Like, Russell and I looked at each other like, what? But yeah, they said that basically he touched it and he disappeared. Gone. In front of their eyes. Yeah, he's a medicine guy. But man, that's where I hear stories like that and I'm like, man, maybe aliens are real. Maybe aliens are real. And they said, yep. She told a few more, but there was another one. It was a deer lady story from a Comanche. She was an elder. Older lady. I don't know if she was an elder for them, but she was I think they took him, Uncle Mark. I think they did. Because that's one thing, too, is like, I wonder if they took him. They knew that, they're going to send their medicine people. They're going to send their prominent people, so let's take them. And I can't remember, and the part that I wish I should have asked is what they did with that craft. I don't know if the government came and got it, but I wish I would have asked that question. But when she said that, I was in such shock. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, that's crazy. That was awesome, though. That's an awesome story. But, yeah, there was a deer lady story that was told to me at that same powwow, I believe. Or it might have been another one, but I want to say it was that one. But I got a crazy Osage story. If we get to 20K, I'll tell that one. But you just never know about some of this stuff, man. What's going on out there? Because I just think there's a lot of things out there that are just unexplained. We just don't know. We don't know what it is. Like, we don't know what's driving it. And for it to crash down and be out there kind of like that, where a lot of prominent people in that community saw it. I want to know if anyone, if and I can't remember that lady's name too. She was out of Texas, but she lived in Texas. I can't remember her name. It's crazy, crazy, crazy. Any other topics? Any other stories? Type of stories you want to hear? I think we've been at it. Let's see how long. I don't understand why I keep getting notification for random gifts. So and so has lit up the gift gallery. What does that even mean? So I've been at it almost 2 hours. Dang, y'all got me talking about everything on here. Talking about politics. Talking about aliens. Got conspiracies. I'm 2 hours in. I'm going to get to 20K, tell the story. This Osage story kind of reminds me of the Ravenmocker a little bit. And I've talked about the Ravenmocker on my podcast, and it's a witch, basic kind of witch. Kind of used to mess around. So when I was growing up, my grandpa always tried to kind of give us information on death. Because he exposed me to a lot of like information that maybe my mind wasn't ready for in terms of like trying to understand what he meant by that. Because there's times where like I remember something he told me and it didn't click until like last year. And so with him, he told me growing up, he said, if you ever notice someone who doesn't belong at your family's funeral when they passed, and no one can place them, nobody can kind of figure out who they are. So that's probably one of them Ravenmockers. But he called them something else, and I can't, and it might have been the Creek word, because he was Muskogee Creek, full blood. But I can't remember exactly, I can't remember the word. I can hear him saying it, I just can't remember exactly how it was said, but I can just remember him like sitting down and telling me it, but like he's telling me the information, but then the word is like bleeped, and my mind can't remember it, but he definitely, but he would talk about that. He would talk about the funeral and like how you're supposed to stay up with the body. You're supposed to stay with the person. You're not supposed to leave them alone. Not supposed to let them pass away alone. And what's crazy about this story I'm going to tell when we get to 20K, it mirrors a lot of what my grandma kind of went through when she passed away. Dang, put the cowboy hat on me. Dang, that was crazy. He sent me a hat and a mustache. Thank you, Uncle Mark. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. A butte out by Ganado, Arizona is known as Skinwalker Butte. Is it Butte? And they don't play about... Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of places out around all over the place. Like... Great look. Dang, I know I had to shave today. I know y'all thinking I was looking kind of crazy. I was like, man, my facial hair is looking insane. But there's a lot of places where I've had non-natives tell me like, oh yeah, we went down to Devil's Bluff. And I'm like, why? Well, who called it that? Oh, well, it's a native legend. And so I go look it up, and it'd be like, yeah, Devil's Mountain. It'd be a Skinwalker, just crazy places. And I'm like, y'all need it. I was like, but y'all live there? And like, yeah, we just moved into this place. I'm like, come on now, y'all. Come on now, y'all. And I always, when I have people that reach out to me and tell me like, hey, I got something weird going on, I always ask them, well, who did you buy the house from? Where'd you buy the house? How did you come across this house? And they say, oh, yeah, so-and-so died in it, or, there has a, tribal member lived in it. And I'm just like, and like, they're like, well, how do we get rid of it? And I always have to tell people it's what you believe. It's always what you believe. Trying to put, some doctored sage, and you don't believe in that, it's not going to work. That's just the way it is. It's what you believe. If you're a Christian and you believe in, that belief and you pray, that will work because you believe in that. That's a spiritual part of that. If you're Muslim and you believe in, that, like that's what you have to pray to. Like that's what you're praying to. Like that's what will get you over that, and that will get that away. There's been times where like I was told, like my grandpa said, like if something's bothering you, you yell at it. You say, get on out of here. Get on out of here. Get. Like I told this story on a couple live streams ago that we had an owl visit us one night just here at our house. And boy, I have a Great Pyrenees, big old boy. He was scared. He was whimpering. And that owl was just sitting right on that fence. That fence we have in our back is pretty rough shape. If it was, if that fence, like if any other thing would have sat on that fence would have started bowing. But this thing was perfectly perched on that fence. That fence is rickety. And it was just sitting there. And I said, I told my wife, I said, all right, well, let me move him back. I'm going to go out here and yell at this thing. And I went out there and said, you get on out of here. Get on out. And I just shoot it off, and it took off. It went away. But usually they're messages, those owls. But I always tell people, if something's bothering you, you just got to leave you alone and do what you find spirituality. And for me, I don't consider myself a Christian. I used to be in that faith. I had a hard time with it. Something never felt right. It was like ancestors saying, "Oh no, come on over here." And I'm not ceremonial either, And being, doing ceremonial stuff doesn't make you not an Indian. Like that's one thing that I think a lot of people be misconstruing. That like, it's like being an Arab and being Christian. Like it's not. Like it doesn't make you not an Arab. It doesn't make you not this person. You're still an Indian regardless of your faith. And I think I see a lot of, and it's always boomer Indians too that be saying, "Oh well, no, you don't practice nothing, or you're white guy, you're colonizer, whatever." I'm gonna tell you this right now: if you're someone who is trying to find out who your people are, just keep going, keep fighting, keep trying to find your people, because at the end of the day, the reason why they always say we try to kill the savage but save the man. Like, that sticks in my head when I hear people talking about, and you can have your opinion, you can disagree. It's not really my place to try to convince people of that. I'm just giving you what I think is, the blood quantum thing. It's like, that was put there to erase Indians. That was there to erase us as a people. That's what that's there for. Once you start getting, once everybody in the tribe starts marrying in, you're going to have to go outside the tribe. You're going to have to find a non-native or another tribe, and now you're half. And if your blood quantum's 25, by your third generation, you're not in the tribe anymore. Your people are gone. And I believe, my dad always used to say it's the name. You got to carry, and my grandpa said this too, it's your name. You got to carry your name right. Your name is always going to say the same. So you could be blonde hair, blue eye, but your last name's, I'm trying to think of Six Killer or Van or Jumper or whatever it is. Tiger. That name is still has to have a good reputation, and that's what how I was raised growing up. It is what it is. I was like, I started looking around. Dang, I'm related to everybody. Creek. I said, what's going on, kin folk? I know I had like 3 people reach out. I think we might be cousins. I started asking, who's your grandpa? Who's your grandma? Oh, we're related to so and so Scott. I'm like, oh God, we are cousins. It's like, dang, I hear trying to keep the incest. Yeah, you say you don't want to lose those names, and that's the thing. Is like, that's why, and that's kind of a Europeans want to keep the names. That's kind of a European thing, but it's not really so much like my girls. I have daughters, so like if they get married to somebody, they're going to lose Tiger. And so am I worried about that? Not really, because at the end of the day, my dad and my family's always said, tigers don't die, we multiply. We don't. It takes a lot to get rid of us. So, but like I said, I try to respect everybody. You got your opinion, I got mine, but at the end of the day, we're still people. Like, just because someone is less of what you think that person is doesn't make that person any less. I try to be fair about it. I try to be fair. In what natives don't understand, and I kind of understand working in government, it don't matter. It does not matter. If you come in with the attitude that you have with over here, it doesn't work out. And that was one thing for me that you gotta, like, when you're talking to people who have a lot of power and who can control anything, they can snap their finger tomorrow and you'd be gone. Like those types of people. And they don't care about you, like they don't. And so, like, that's one thing is trying to make your imprint on them, especially non-natives who have power, and not trying to make yourself one of the good Indians, but like you feel like that when you're around people of that type of power. You almost feel like that, and I felt greasy sometimes. I'm sitting there, have all the numbers right, everything's perfect, everything's running smoothly. And it's like, I always feel like in the back of my head, they're like, oh, look at that good Indian right there. He's being a good Indian. And so that always bothered me, too, working in government. I mean, shoot, even out in West Oklahoma City, it was like that. Yahola here, everyone hears that name, oh, you got to be Muskogee Creek, or you got to be Indian. Out there, man, they were rude. Boy, I was like, man, I if I wasn't working for this government, man, I'd be going off. But sometimes you got to keep that job. We're at 14,000, y'all. We'll get to 20,000. I'll tell this Osage story about kind of a witch, Ravenmocker type, or death being is what I guess is what they're kind of called too. Get to 20,000. Do y'all like when I rant like that? Let me know in the chat. If y'all like me ranting like that, I always feel weird doing it, but I kind of get on a tangent and I just keep going. I always don't feel like I should be saying what I'm saying, but I just try to be fair and honest sometimes. I guess y'all haven't left, so if it's anything, it means anything. Yeah, I'm trying to level up over here. I'm trying to look at these numbers, man. No, it's cool though. TikTok is pretty cool. I didn't realize how cool it was. I didn't get on it until like 2023. Uh, Ashley says you say how everyone would feel if they were put in that situation. It's not wrong. What does that say? Nah, bro, get your coup story on. Dang. Yeah. I mean, it comes down to just, you know, because like if you look at my family, like it has Lewis's, Scott's, Tiger's, Sheridan, Kiowa side. It's two Hatchets, like, and then we got my mom's side is Solon's, and so on at Shakota, and like to me, I feel like I'm just I don't know, I just have a different mindset on a lot of things. Like I understand both sides, but like I always try to do what's right, but also what's best too in the same way, in the same breath. Yeah, I got Scott. So Scott is on my dad's side. I got a bunch of Scotts on my dad's side. Let's see here. Did you, Rod? Did you misspell something? Get your coup story on? Dang, I was going to overthrow the government, huh? I was in there. I was infiltrating. Nah, I'll tell you what, man. It was different, man. Because like when you're around people who have legitimate power, it is intimidating. I don't get intimidated by it very much, but anytime that I was around them people, I could feel myself like a shudder just a tiny bit, just a little bit. I was nervous. I had a commissioner come in one time. He's looking at my facility, and I hadn't, I was busy. I'm trying to get a pool going. I got cracks in the foundation of the pool. There's a lot wrong with this pool, and I'm trying to get everything going. And he's looking there, and he said, "You're doing all right, Mr. Tiger." I said, "Well, I appreciate it." Let's see here. Scott, they came into Oklahoma fleeing east. They were outlaws. Yeah, we might be kin then, Uncle Mark. We might be kin. Because I told that Chito Harjo story, and Edward Scott was an outlaw running around. Moon Goon, did you ever hear that story about Chito Harjo and Edward Scott? Chito telling his gang that he learned medicine from Bigfoot. Did you ever hear that story growing up? I've told it on this podcast. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. I was confused, man. I was confused. No, that makes sense. Thanks for the clarification. We're at what? We're at 15, guys. 5,000 more. Oh yeah. Hey, so yeah, yeah, Moon Goon and we got the same stories. I love that. I'm glad that other people, because as people are passing away in our family, man, it's like I feel like nobody's telling these stories anymore, and if they are telling them, it's just few and far between. And those the Eufaula Canadian tribal towns where I learned a lot of those stories. And there was one story that always scared me growing up, and I've heard it a few times. But there was a lady, she was part of the language department at Muskogee Nation, and she would talk about the times she'd be going out, kind of wilding out a little bit, and one night they were all hanging out, and all of a sudden they had this fire going, and she looked into the fire and she saw the face of a demon in that fire. And it's one of those fire spirits that Muskogee Creeks talk about, those fire spirits. Yes, I remember that story. I vaguely remember. We talked about that a long time ago, but I remember you saying it, and I was like, what? But yeah, that fire spirit, those fire spirits was in there, was in that fire, a demon or something. But she said she saw like a demon face coming out of that fire. Yeah. Yeah, I think that they know those things. I think that they They know medicine. They know how to gain. Like I told the story about disappearing. Chito Harjo, knowing that they disappear like that, and I know that they do those things. 15,000, y'all. We're close. We're close. We'll get to 20. I'm gonna tell that story and get out of here. I think I'm gonna go live tomorrow. Probably same time, maybe. We'll see. I gotta do some running around tomorrow, but I try to go live tomorrow the same time, probably 2:30, maybe 3. Probably go an hour, but we're close, y'all. We're close. But yeah, they know those things. But getting back to that story about the fire spirit. Oh, I remember hearing that story, and I was always scared of that dang story. I was always scared of seeing those things. But yeah, those storytelling events. Like there was one guy, he just passed away, I think, a couple years ago. But he always told this story about the time he was out Bigfooting is what he said. You want to talk about rezzed out guy? He was an old rezzed out guy. But he said he could smell it. He could smell that odor, and he said it smelled like death and like wet dog. He just smelled bad. But also too, someone was telling me that gorillas let off a stench like that to kind of get people away from them, and I think that might be what they're doing. Letting off some type of smoke bomb on people. Dang, farting all over them. God, it's like dang, knock you out, make you all like. Don't know where you're at. Farting all over the place in Bigfoots. Them big feets. Plural. What are we at? Y'all slow playing me. We're gonna have to end it, y'all. No, but I appreciate y'all hanging around and hearing me talk about all types of crazy stuff, because I think that's one thing that I try to specifically just try to come on here and just yap about things, all that go all bump in the night. Like, there's stories that like I will remember midstream, and I'm like, dang, because someone said something, I start remembering it. My buddy and his family watched a fire spirit run over the hill. Dang. Was it like a fully formed person, or is it just like a little, like a flame? Miss Ashley, I'll have to follow you back. I appreciate you. He said it looked like a man on fire. Gah! That's crazy. That's awesome, though. Went Bigfooting with Blackfeet in Montana, and there's definitely something out there. Yeah, Rod, man, he had a lot of stories about that. You know what stories that I like? I can't wait for episode 100 with Rod, because he's got Goatman stories. And I don't hear a lot of Goatman stories, but he's got a bunch of them, because I guess they see it a lot out there. That Goatman's kind of a Eastern European being. They used to see those a lot back in the day. My uncle researched Bigfoot back in the 60s and 70s in Northern California. Man, it's pretty rampant up there too, is what I heard. Could be wrong. Could be wrong. We're close, y'all. 20,000 is so close, but so far away. What was the Metallica song? So close, no matter how far. Nah, I'm just kidding with y'all. Any other topics you want me to hit before I tell this story? Where did he have to go? If he was looking for a Bigfoot in Northern California, where would he go? That's interesting to me. Yeah, I've had some people reach out about nursing home stories. That Pawnee story that I told from those two gentlemen out of Pawnee, they were hunting on a lease of land, and something greasy was messing with their stuff, and they looked and saw a handprint. They said it was the greasiest handprint they ever seen. I was like, dang. Yeah. Rod has a bunch of them stories. Yeah, you're gonna have to tell. You're gonna have to. I can't wait to have the 100th episode. I'm thinking if you're maybe available, I don't know about Sunday, but maybe during next week. It's kind of what I'm thinking. Maybe in the evening time. My wife is big on Whatnot. She's a Whatnot fiend, so she's been going live. She'll be going live tonight or tomorrow night. So if y'all are on Whatnot, I'm over there. I'm going live tomorrow afternoon sometime, maybe noontime. And then she's going live that night. She's got a lot of stuff. If you're an antique person, vintage decor, she's got it all. Like, I do a lot of sports memorabilia, stuff like that. So if you're on Whatnot, definitely go and follow us on there. She's under Toad & Co. She sponsored the podcast a few times, a couple episodes. And then I'm under Warcry Podcast. I don't have the name in front of me, but I could get it for you. Yeah, send it to me. I'd like to hear it. Might have to put a story out for that. Oh, yeah. Dan might have had, too, with the Mount St. Helen. Okay, that sounds good, Rod. Yeah, man, like I said, I'm just trying to, I got too many dang things going on, and I have not been feeling the best lately. I feel like I'm just have not been sleeping the best, and I got a doctor's appointment tomorrow. So I'm getting old, y'all. When you start hitting 30, you start being like, God, I can't just wake up no more. I'm sick all the time. But we're close, y'all. We got 2,000 more. 2,000 more likes. 20,000 is within reach. Get arthritis on your hands. I need y'all to have arthritis so y'all can hear this scary story from an Osage guy. I'm 31, Rod. I know, I'm not old. I'm not old. But I feel old sometimes. All those years of basketball. Wait for 50. No. Nope, I don't want to. I hope we freeze time. I hope Jesus does come back like they say he's going to. So I ain't got to deal with that age. Nah, I'm just kidding. No, I think I'll be a pretty cool 50-year-old. I can start getting mad at kids. We got neighborhood kids. I'll be start yelling at them like, get off my lawn, or like, don't walk in front of my house. Take the long way. Back in my day, we used to travel 9 hills, up and down with no shoes on. In the rain, in the snow, in the sleet, in the hail, we ran it. Damn, I'm 48. I don't even want to hear it. Oh, my bad. It's not bad. You just slow down. Yeah. Yep. I'm just not ready. I want to be young forever. But also, too, one thing, too, that you learn, like I'm starting to understand as you get older, is that, like, I'm starting to look at people that were, like, high school, college, and I'm like, y'all don't even realize y'all about to step your foot in hell. Like, we're in hell right now. Being an adult is hell sometimes. We're at 18.5. Hey, guys, 1,500 left. The last push. I'm going to tell this story and we'll get out of here. All right, this is kind of a longer story, so as you're tapping that screen, I'm going to tell this story. All right. So I used to do guest hosting on different shows, and I would hop on shows on YouTube. This is back probably 5 years ago, and people would basically call in or join the thing, and because I'd be telling stories how I am now, and I had a guy call in on a show that I was on. And he was like, hey, because I was telling a small portion of my grandma's story. And he was telling me, he's like, man, I think I got a story close to that. And I said, okay. I said, well, what is it? And he said, well, I'm Osage. And this happened to me with my dad. And I said, okay, well. So one night, he's coming home. It's already dark outside. And so he's pulling in. And he looks, as he's pulling in, this is crazy. Like I said, this is to me a crazy story. He's pulling in his driveway, and as he pulls in, his lights hit a figure next to the tree. So it was like this, and there's somebody standing next to that tree. So he gets out and he said, "Hey, what's going on? What's going on? Can I help you?" He's trying to get this person's attention in. And he said he looked at them, and he said that they had a buckskin, almost like if like those old school robes that, like if I'm not saying like a druid, but he said it was like buckskin. It was like animal skinned. And he said when he started kind of walking over there, and when he got close to it, it rushed at him. And now he said he couldn't remember if it was running or if it was floating. But it basically just whooshed at him, and it got like really close, and then it went off. And then he looked, and it was gone. And I said, well, what did it look like? And he said, I couldn't tell what the face looked like. He said, but the body was skinny. It was real frail looking, but it was strong. It seemed like it was strong. And so he ended up, was like, what the hell was that? Like real kind of like, whoa, like this is weird. So he goes in the house. And he, gets on the phone with his dad. He just thought he would call his dad. He had a moment where he said, well, maybe I need to call my dad. Because him and his dad were like close. Like very, very, very close. They had the same name. And people would sometimes mistake him for his dad because they looked so similar. And they were just similar guys. And so he's like, well, I'll just call my dad. I have a bad feeling. And so he calls his dad, and he's like, hey, dad answers. And he's like, hey, said something weird happened, man. Like, I saw this thing. His dad's like, oh, well, that's weird, And he said that he heard knocking. So once he came in the door, he called his dad, and he could hear knocking on his door. And he was like, what is that? And he's like, it's weird. It's just knocking. And so he didn't answer it because he was on the phone with his dad. Well, then his dad hears. He said, hey, hold on a second, son. Somebody's knocking on the door. And he's like, no, Dad, don't answer that. I think something's weird going on. And he's like, so he basically kind of just hangs up. He's like, oh, there's nobody here. So he closes the door. And his dad's like, well, I'm going to go ahead and, I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to hang up. He said, everything's all right. He said, well, I just thought I'd call and check on you. And so they hung up. And he's in his room. He said, I swear to you, he said it sounded like trumpets were in the room. Like, boop, 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 boop. And he said it sounded like a trumpet. It was the weirdest sound he had ever heard. And when he's just like, man, he's like, well, that was really weird. It was a weird night. And he, then he later found out his dad had passed away. And I asked him, he was kind of real emotional telling me this story. He said he found out later on his dad had passed away. And I said, and I just was telling, he had heard my story about my grandmother and the knocks at the door before she passed. Like something was trying to get her. And I was always told never to answer that door. Now, he doesn't know. I said, well, is your dad sick? And he said, not that I knew of. Maybe he might have been hiding something. But he said, no, I never knew that he was sick. And so, or anything was going on. So he just passed away. And he was really kind of, emotional on this live stream. And so I asked him, I said, so did he answer the door? And he said, yeah. I said, yeah, I was always told never to answer the door. And, I'm sorry. But he said he thinks what happened is that this spirit thought he was his dad. And that's why it came to him first. And when he called his dad, he had a bad feeling about his dad. So that's why I called him. And then he heard his dad, his dad answered that door and, hung up and, they kind of went on their way. He said, but I said, Cherokees would call it raven mocker, but it's a witch that tries to extend their life. And I said, I don't know. I said, I can't really speak on it. He said, but no, man, I just appreciate you telling that story because that, it explains my dad. I said, so yeah, that was from an Osage guy about 6 years ago. He told that story. Let me know what you thought about that story. It's creepy. I got goosebumps right now. I get weird goosebumps when I start talking about that mocker, man. I get weird about it. But Rod, man, I appreciate the chilies. He said a lot of times it's your loved ones that's coming for you. Same story of knocking with my dad. Yeah, I mean, that could be it. That definitely could be it, too. Uncle Mark says, when my dad passed away, I was at work. There was a fan cooling equipment. It fell over. That's interesting. And also, too, I wonder, too, that if maybe these bad spirits are trying to come for people, and they do the thing where they try to like your ancestors or your relatives or your loved ones who are watching over you are trying to stop that entity from getting to you, and they do things like maybe knocking the cooling fan over, or trying to move you, trying to shift you over to another thing, trying to get away from that. But Rod, I appreciate the chilies, man. 6 of them. You hit the goal, man. I do appreciate it. And if you have hung with me this long, over 2 hours, I appreciate it. I don't know if I'm going to put this one. I had such a hard time putting the last one on YouTube. I will eventually try to. But you guys, you can catch me on YouTube. The YouTube link is on my profile. I'm trying to think of what else. Apple and Spotify, and basically wherever you find podcasts, it's Warcry Podcast. Like I said, go like, subscribe. Rod from Lodge Tales is on here, so you just click. If you're in chat right now, click his icon, hit the follow button. He's got a lot of great content. He's got a lot of stories. And so I have a lot of respect for him and support. Let's see here. I think the loved ones will simply be polite by knocking. The other ones will try to sneak in. Yep. I think so too. Uncle Mark said, very interesting. Thank you for letting me hang out. Yes, sir. No problem. Glad you do this, man. I'm from Owasso and have a ton of crazy stories from around here. Justin, get a hold of me, man. Get a hold of me. Message me on here. We'll chat back and forth. But yeah, no problem at all. Oh, got another tip of the hat in the mustache. Thank you, Uncle Mark. But yeah, guys, go follow Rod from Lodge Tales. Like you say, he's right there. But yeah, this is it. We hit 20K. We hit the goal for the chilies. So I appreciate everyone who has stuck with me. There's more to come. Icon, hit the button, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.